My name is Mark Doty. I'm a poet, essayist, and a memoirist. I have been writing since, ever since I can remember, really. I always loved to read from the time that I could, but I never really paid attention to poetry until I was an adolescent. And I had that kind of tumultuous, churning inner life, which no one could really see from the outside, and I didn't even really want anybody to see it, but I needed very much to give it form. And I began to just keep a journal, not of what happened to me, because I was always bored by writing down what happened to me, but of dreams, conversations, things I overheard that I liked, quotations that I read. And then I stumbled across some poets whose work spoke to me with such power. William Blake, the English Romantic, Federico Garcia Lorca, great Spanish modernist, E. Cummings. And these poems had, how else to say it, a depth charge about them. You know, you could say what the words meant, but you could translate, in Lorca's case, the poem from Spanish to English, but you couldn't translate it from poetry into prose. There was something there that had to do with music and feeling and the inner life given a distillation. I love these things. I wanted to try to make something. So I started writing some poems, and I actually had a high school drama teacher who asked us to perform something we had written. And I memorized one of my poems, and I did it for the class, and the teacher said, no, you're supposed to have written it. I said, I did. He didn't believe me. So in order to catch me out as a plagiarist, he showed some of my poems to a poet in my community, a marvelous man named Richard Shelton, who taught at the University of Arizona in Tucson. And Dick became a mentor for me, not in the sense of telling me what I should do or what I should think, but in the sense of showing me a person who organized his life around the practice of an art. He could quote poets, he talked about poets he knew, and talked about poets who'd been dead 1,000 years with just as much familiarity as those who were his pals. He was a person who organized his life around the practice of this art, and he seemed to me to just be holding the door open, saying, you can do this too. And I never looked back. I've been writing pretty seriously ever since.